Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Trainers Forum presented by HRD Specialized Canine Training. I'm Paul Martin, your host, and tonight our guest trainer is Brad Dennis. He comes to us as president of Class Kids Foundation and called to rescue. Brad lives in Pensacola, Florida. I have known Brad for 15 years or so. And with that, we have talked together. We have worked cases together and have done not enough fishing together. But um, Brad comes to us with uh, close to, I think, 30 years in the SAR world. Prior to that, Brad's spent 20 years serving our great country in the United States Navy and retired as a Master Chief. And for a number of years before becoming president of Class Kids, he spent his time, effort, and energy running searches as the National Search Director for Class Kids. So, with no other information or time taken up, I am going to turn it over to Brad.
Well, thank you, Mr. Paul. I paid you more money, so you should have been able to speak a little bit longer for me, but that's okay. I'll expect a little bit of a refund. Very kind words, and I thank you. This is truly an honor for me to be here tonight. I see a lot of faces, or not faces, I don't get to see faces, but I do see a lot of names on here that I recognize. So that is always a pleasure. Tonight, we're not going to be showing a PowerPoint or anything like that. It's going to be a discussion, an open topic. And as you saw the preface on Facebook beforehand, it was about building an elite team. And so these are just some of my thoughts and some of my concepts that I just wanted to be able to share with each one of you. It seems like lately, an awful lot of people are always looking for some type of shortcut, some kind of hack. I mean, there is books and series on TVs about these different kind of hacks and just ways to game the system out there. And I really kind of believe that even in our world of canine searching and in search and rescue as a whole, we're still looking for those things. What are those that will help me get out there and be a better team, help me become the team that everyone calls, whatever that is. And I want to tell you that if that's why you came looking tonight, you're not going to find it here. I can tell you that the shortcut is a lie, that the hack really just does not really get it. Honestly, to reach whatever your goals are, whatever your achievements are that you have in your mind, to overcome the obstacles that it will take for you to become the best version of a canine team that you have in your mind, is not going to happen by itself. It's not going to happen through cutting corners or taking shortcuts or finding some easy way. Most of you know this by now, or you wouldn't even be on here, because you're obviously dedicated to this. You've dedicated your time to this. So some of this will just be a reminder, but I also hope that somehow this also comes as a swift kick in the rear end for each and every one of us. We only get to that status that we're after with hard work, with late nights, with early mornings, with practice and then rehearsals, and then repetition, and then practice, and then rehearsals, and then repetition, and then study, and then sweat, and blood, and frustration, and discipline. Discipline seems to be that thing that kicks most of us in the rear end. There has got to be discipline. William Ward once wrote that the price of excellence is discipline. The cost of mediocrity is disappointment. the people that call upon us to come out there and utilize these tools, our minds, our bodies, our training, our experience, our abilities, they are not looking for mediocrity. That victim that is looking for you to find them, that law enforcement agency, homicide investigator is looking for you to find that victim, whatever it is they are looking for, excellence, not mediocrity. So if in your mind, if what you are after, and I really have to believe that this is what every single one of us want to achieve. And when I say this, please understand, I don't mean that we're trying to take it away from anyone else. But hey, we got into this because there is something inside of us that drives us forward. So if you want to get to your goal of being that team, I hope you know what I mean by that team. That team is that team that gets respect, that team that gets deployments, that team that when they show up has the confidence, and I mean the handler and the canine has the confidence in a variety of settings and in a variety of situations. That team to me is the elite team. And again, I'm not disparaging anyone. I want every team to rise up to that level. But that team is an elite team. And to get there, to literally get there, I believe that you have to be willing to process through some stuff. And what I'm going to challenge you with tonight is to process through these very 4 critical questions. So I really hope that you brought pen and paper to write with. I believe that each one of us has to be willing to process these 4 critical questions. First one, what is my why? And is my why important enough? When I mean important enough, is it important enough that when I don't get the calls, I'm just going to continue to push? When I feel like I don't get the respect, I'm going to continue to push. When I go out on a search and I see so many things that I could have done differently, so many things I could have done better, then I'm going to continue to push. When those cases come and they hurt me, they literally hurt my soul and hurt my heart. And even though they take a piece of me, my why is still important enough to me that it continues to push me forward. Number 2, that's first question. What is my why and is it important enough? Number 2, do I understand what it will take to be an elite team member? Number 3, am I an amateur or have I made that conscious decision to turn pro at this work? And last but not least, am I willing to take a step back, take a step back and see the little things that I do that will drive me to either success or to failure? So I'm going to quickly go through these. The very first one, that why. Over and over and over again, I am always asked. I mean, I go to seminars, I'm asked this. I'm in searches, I'm asked this. I'm asked this by families. I'm even asked this by law enforcement investigators. Why? What drives you? Why do you do what you do, Brad, when you've seen so much, when you've seen so many bad things, when you've seen so many bad scenes? Why? Why do you continue to push forward? Even when things go a million different directions in the wrong way, why? And again, I have to say that your why has to be important enough to get through all that. I'll tell you, this is my why. My why is that ever since I was a young little kid, growing up in the military, I was taught to prepare myself for battle, and I was taught to prepare myself for war. And today I look at everything that I do in this business as preparing myself for battle and preparing myself for war. My battlefield that I work in, your battlefield that you work in is ever changing. It is dynamic. It is fluid. And so I must be prepared. I must be adaptable. I must be flexible. I must constantly grow my arsenal of tools. My dog is a tool, is one set of tools, but I need to grow an arsenal of tools and abilities. Why? Why? Because he's out there. He is out there working. He is out there training. He is out there planning. He is out there preparing to meet me on that battlefield. Who is he? He is the predator that I have to go up against. And he is more sophisticated than ever before. He is more transient. He is more adaptable than ever before. He is also by far more vicious and more brutal than ever before. And his goal is to beat me. His goal is to get away with the crime. His goal is to hide his victim. His goal is to create fear and attack again and again and again. And the only way that he loses is if I can go find that victim, if I can find that piece of evidence, if I can find that thing that stops him. And so you see, I know at some point we will meet. I don't know when, and I don't know where, and I don't know how, but I know that I have to be ready. I have to be ready. I cannot afford to take time off. I must be ready mentally. I must be ready physically. I must be ready emotionally. So I train. I train and I train and I prepare and I prepare and I challenge myself. I challenge my partners. I challenge my teammates. And some will still say, why? That thing drives you. And I'll tell you. And this is straight out of as much of me. If any of you know me, then you know that you're going to always get my heart from all of this. What drives me? Kids have died. Children have died. Teenagers have died during my search for them because I was outsmarted. I have searched and not found them because I underestimated that predator. I have deployed at times and I was not my best. I can admit it. I know it. Because I have gone to scenes and I have witnessed handlers, I have witnessed teams so busy massaging themselves and their egos that they were ineffective in their search efforts. Now, why? Because every single missing person out there deserves better of us. So I'm going to ask you, is your why big enough? Only you can answer that. Only you truly know what drives you, what really drives you. So, number 2 was, do you know what it takes to be an elite team member? Whether we readily admit it or not, we all want to be that team. We do. That team that gets the calls, that team that has the trust and the respect. We do. We strive for that. We want the best out of our canine. We want the best out of ourselves. But to be the best, we must first be an elite team. And I'll tell you what my elite stands for, but really quick, if you've got a chance to hop on the chat, I would really like for you to just throw a word out for each letter of elite. And we'll just start really simple with E. What would E look like to you? What would E be for elite? And I see effective and efficient, empathy, I love, exercise, experience, perfect. Thank you. What would L be? Again, you are an elite team. What would L look like to you? I'm watching. Listen, loyalty, leadership, love, loyal to the mission. Very good. Learning. Perfect. And so you've got E and you have L. What would I be? A lot of really good words out there for I. Integrity immediately comes to mind. Intensity. Ooh, I love that. I love that. That is good. Intensity and integrity. Innovation. Intuition. Impactful. Those are some good stuff there. Now, imagine if you did this exercise within your own team and what all of those words would come together. I will tell you, if you ask this, what do you see of me? If you wrote these words, these letters down, and you put one word to them to describe the kind of teammate that I am to you, what would they look like? And vice versa. Because then you begin to understand what the concept of an elite team really is. It's not some supernatural status above everyone else. It's not so that we can be superior. Oh, no, It's what drives you as a teammate. So what would T be? ELIT. Trust. Tactical. Trained. Trustworthy. Ooh, there's a good one. Tenacious. Both of you came up with that. Very, very good. Thorough. All right, so what about the last E? I know that we could just repeat some of those other E's, but now that you've had a chance to kind of go through this, I probably think that you'd probably have some new E's. Encouraging, empathetic, effort. Beautiful. That comes from my military-minded person. Even keeled. Oh, good. Efficient. Very awesome. So here are mine, and I'm just going to run through them very quickly. And these, again, this is just my explanation of them. That's all it is. Okay. Every last one of yours was perfect. But my version of elite looks like this. The first E stands for extreme. Extreme, another word, ownership. Yeah, because it's my word, I got to throw two words in there. I know. But extreme ownership. You see, when I think of extreme ownership, I can immediately understand what you are motivated by. Because every one of us is motivated by something. So what are you motivated by? And so in extreme ownership, in my concept of that, you are motivated by a much larger purpose than just yourself. You are only successful if the team is successful. And not only that, but you have ownership of the team because you are an integral part of that team, and you have ownership in the team because you see yourself as a team member and a teammate. And you recognize through extreme ownership, you recognize that there is no one else to blame. This is not a time for excuses and rationalizations and finger pointing. You recognize that there is no one else to blame. You must own not only the problems, but the solution. L very simply to me means to lead. To lead. In the military, we have a maxim that in the absence of leadership, lead. You've made a commitment. If you lead, you made a commitment to lead up and down the chain of command. You are going to enforce and reinforce that concept of the chain of command because it's a team first. Everyone must understand not just what they are doing, but why they are doing it. So in lead, you learn to communicate concisely and consistently with the same message. Very, very clear. And last but not least, but you recognize that if the team fails, even Even if you succeeded yourself, everyone failed. To me, that's lead. I to me stands for innovate. This battlefield that we are on, I don't care how you view it, it's a battlefield. The battlefield that we are on is changing. The enemy we fight constantly adjusts tactics. You either adapt or you lose. Simple. There is no one tool that fits every situation anymore. So you have to constantly be about adding more and more and more tools to your tool belt. Let me ask you this question. Here's a really simple question. What's the last thing that you read? What's the last book that you read? I hope it's something that pushes your thought processes forward. Technology is ever evolving, and the more tools that you develop, the more value you will provide your customer. Now, granted, our customer is our missing person that we are trying to locate and find, but who is it that is calling us to the scene in the first place? Law enforcement. And law enforcement will only continue to call you if you are adding value to them. We only do that if we stay afloat, innovate, making ourselves relevant. Last T. Oh, I like these books. Beautiful. Leaders Eat Last is an excellent book. Yes, it is. T. T is teachable. Listen, wrap your mind around this one concept. This one concept is, to me, the most important concept that will make you the absolute best searcher out there, period. You have this concept intact. I want you. I want to come work for you. I want to run a search for you. I want to search with you and under you. And that is, you don't know it all. Honestly, the moment that we really understand that and really get it, it's not just a saying. It's not something you can put on a t-shirt, but it's something that you really capture. I don't know it all. Oh, that humility allows you to then be teachable. You must consistently seek out opportunities to learn and to grow. You must be willing to self-assess all of the time. If you're not willing to take those critical moments to self-assess yourself, you will never, ever get better. So again, elite, extreme ownership, lead, innovate, teachable, and last but not least, someone already said it, empathetic. Empathy is the capacity to understand or feel what another person is going through, what they are experiencing from their perspective. Empathetic is exactly what we have to be for those families that we serve, for the victims that we are going after, for literally even the investigators that we are dealing with. But it is also that thing that allows us to be a better teammate. Empathy gives me that frame of reference, that capacity to place myself in another person's position, to walk a mile in their shoe. So important. So question number 3 was, are you an amateur or are you pro? I know that's a little kind of crazy, I guess, but I think all of us consider ourselves professional volunteers. And I would have to say that for the 33 people that I see on here right now, and I would imagine all the ones that are watching this through Facebook, you get this concept of being a professional. But it's worth saying it again. You see, anyone as an instructor that has gone all over this country teaching classes and certifying people as search and rescue or canine handlers, I will say this blanket statement: anyone that applies themselves can become a searcher, and good on them for that too. Any handler that is willing to put some time into their dog, and their dog has got some drive, can pass one of these tests of certifications. Because even if you fail one of the one level, we have so many varieties of levels out there. And I will say this, that all that has happened in passing that is that we have just made you very, very dangerous. Dangerous to themselves, and dangerous to others. Because if they stop right there, all they have done is pass the test at an amateur status, and they have done nothing else but made themselves dangerous. So the real question is, what will it take for you to go pro? What does pro look like? Well, for me, and I know that I've asked this in seminars before for people, so some of you have been in those seminars and you know this, but to me, pro requires some really, really serious determination, not the determination to finally pass a test. That's determination. But this is the determination to get back up tomorrow and work again, and get back up the next day and work again, and get up the next day and work again, not because there's a test looming, but because you know that you have to be prepared to be your absolute best, you and that canine. So serious determination, serious dedication, real passion, a real burning purpose inside of you, but above all is discipline. Do you have a weekly training program? Do you sit down at the end of each week and write out your new week program? Do you reflect back on your training from last week and really say, what was I expecting? What was my objectives? And did I meet those objectives? Are we as a team moving forward? And many of us will say, yeah, oh yeah, I got that for the dog. Do you? I mean, do you really? And what about for you? Do you have that for you? Does your weekly training also encompass critical things like your basics, your fundamentals, or are we always trying to go out and do the glitz and the glamour stuff? Is it all the way focused back to my health, my fitness, my diet, my endurance? Oh, believe me, I can give you a big search, but you're so used to working these small areas that you nor the dog have the endurance capable to actually go out there and work those searches. Discipline. Discipline to know your expectations and work your plan to those expectations without excuse. No excuses allowed. If you fail, you fail. You know what you have to do to improve, to succeed, to go back and do it. No excuses, no skipping steps, no shortcuts. Discipline means doing all of the things that no one else is ever going to see you do. No one is ever going to see you do, so that you will get the results that you're after. Discipline. I like to put it this way. Paul and I are always running these advanced scenario classes, and we love doing them. I mean, it's my favorite thing in the world to teach, other than just going out in the field and teaching real search skills. I love teaching advanced scenario classes. And the reason I love them is that people get so caught up in the elaborate schemes that we like to think up. And we've seen a few things, and we've got some pretty warped minds. At least Paul does. He's pretty warped. And so we create some really crazy layouts for this. But the thing is they get so caught up in all those really crazy layouts that they don't see the simplicity of what it is that we're driving to, what we're after, what we, Paul and I, are looking for. Literally, there's a checklist. We know what it is that we're trying to drive to. Here it is. As a handler, when we test you in some elaborate scheme, we're looking to see, has this team been training in a variety of settings and situations, or are they just going to the same place over and over and over? Have you been training with a variety of sources and different amounts of those sources? Or if you're a trailing handler or area search handler and you're scent discriminant, are you training with a variety of different scent articles? I mean, a variety of different scent articles, because you don't always have something really good to work from. You don't always have the capability to go and get something that would be really good to work from. Are your fundamentals there? If you are an HRD handler, we will intentionally put you in a situation that you have to put that dog on a leash and now work with that dog around. And it stands out really, really quick who does and does not have that kind of control. Does your dog have real, true awareness and control? And what about that endurance issue? Will you be swayed? Here's probably one of the key things that we are always trying to check. Will you be swayed by handler bias? In other words, if we give you a scenario and we give you little tidbits, are you going to be swayed by that? Is that going to bias your decisions while you're out there? Because if we can do that in training, you can get that done to you on a real search. Are you confident in making decisions during your search strategies? Is that been apparent in your training? Have people been testing you in your training to justify your search strategy? Out very quickly. Do you have a search plan for transitional spaces? What I mean by transitional spaces can literally mean getting in and out of the vehicle, going to and from your search assignment, going down that lane, down that path, down down that trail to get to your assignment. But are you already in search mode, or are you busily talking and joking and laughing and everything else? Because after all, if we knew where a lost person was, we wouldn't have brought you out there in the first place. So just because your search assignment is one place doesn't mean that you couldn't have found them all the way back over here. So do you push your dog through entryways, doorways, stairwells, all of those things, or are you searching it all to the best of your abilities? Do you recognize when a dog is naturally going to fly through an area, take off through an area, move past an area because of the uncomfortable setting that it presents the dog? And if so, recognize that and build that back into your training program so we eliminate uncomfortable settings for the dog. You see, when you start to take this apart, you begin to start to realize who is the amateur teams, the teams that are not really putting a whole lot of thought and effort into what it is that they are trying to do. And they are just going out there and meeting the day's effort. It's a check in the box moment. Well, are they putting the true time and effort into this and starting to reanalyze every aspect of what it is that they're trying to accomplish? That's what it means to make the shift from amateur to pro. And finally, the last question is, do you recognize the little things that drive your success? I mean, have you gone back in and really analyzed each of your routines? Because we're all creatures of habit and we all have a tendency to establish routines in everything that we do. And are those routines efficient? Are they effective? I mean, literally putting on your gear, is it efficient? Is it effective? Where everything's at on you, is it efficient and effective? Getting your dog out of the truck on a search, going to the briefings and going to the debriefings. Are you prepared for briefings? Are you prepared for debriefings? Do you go to trainings just like it's an actual search? Would I go out there and actually see you all kitted up and all geared up for every single little bitty thing that you get out of your car and do at a training, just like you would do on a real search? Because if not, you got to remember that it's the little things that drive our success. How's your start? There's not a trailing dog alive that has not heard and understand the fact that you're only as good as that start. But that start goes for every handler as well as every searcher. How good is your start? How prepared are you? What's your ritual when you are there? What's your routine to start your dog? And if you don't have one, well, that in itself is one. What about your search? Have you had people literally go out and really videotape you? I mean, when you videotape you and y'all go back to lunch and look at it and say, "Oh, isn't that cute? That's really fun." But no, you analyze all of your behaviors. Where's my hand placement right now? Where's my head placement right now? How am I wearing all my harness on me? And is there anything that I'm doing that's having an effect on my canine? Is there anything that I am doing that's having an effect on me? Is it hindering my movement? Is it hindering the way that I'm traveling through this area? Is there anything that I am doing that is not efficient and effective? And check it out in every setting, because every setting, I guarantee you, you're going to move differently in. Your end, what's your end look like? What's it look like to your dog after you just got finished searching a whole area and you found nothing? What does your end look like to your dog? What message are you conveying back to your dog? You did good today? Oh well, didn't find anything. Go kennel. What's your end look like? And have you taken the time to sit there and piece apart and analyze each of your training sessions for that week to really truly find out if they're producing results? And when I say results, do you have mile markers in your training? Do you have objectives that you're trying to reach to and obtain in your training? If I set up the same type of drill, let's say it's a speed drill, and I set up the same type of speed drill over and over, I set up the same trail with one turn on a hard packed surface. What am I expecting? Am I expecting that turn to be met every single time? Am I expecting 90% of the time my dog makes the right decision and right choice to make that left or right turn? In my speed drills, am I expecting 90% of the time my dog be successful? Am I expecting 80? Am I expecting 75? What is it that you're expecting? Because if you're not expecting anything, you will settle. You'll settle for nothing. And then what value is that back to the agency? Well, he told me 45 minutes. It's been 40. So I'm going to give you one other little thing. I really was trying to put together some clips to show you of this, because this really, especially the little things, was really driven back home to me this past weekend. I big time CrossFitter guy. I love CrossFit. It's just an exercise program. I love it. And this was the CrossFit Games this weekend, and I had a chance to watch the CrossFit Games. And if there's anyone out there, then they'll know this, but in the CrossFit Games, there was this year, because it's different this year because of COVID, they had the top 5 men and the top 5 women from around the world competing to see who was the fittest human beings on earth. Believe me, when these people finish this, they are truly the fittest human beings on earth. You'd have to see the catalog of work that they have to put into this. But the number one male and the number one female that won again have won the last number of years as well. They keep winning. They are hands and feet above everyone else. No one even comes close to competing next to them. They beat these other people that are like goddesses, right? Adonises out there. I mean, they are extremely fit, and the top man and top woman still just kill them. And this year, I had a chance to really look at it close, and it was amazing the little things that they did that allowed them to win. Again, you just have to kind of see it, but there's this one period of time that they have to go from station to station to station to lift a heavier weight with their barbells over and over and over and over, right? Heavier, 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 heavier. You'd lift one, you put it down, and if you put it down, then you'd probably chalk up with your chalk, right? All 4 men had one thing of chalk, and they had it right there at their first lift, and they lifted up and they chalked, and then they walked up to the next bar and lifted up and did it. And like, oh, I need to chalk again, turn around and came all the way back and chalked up again and went. The guy that won it, he broke his chalk into 4 different pieces and put chalk at each one of his mats. Talking about being efficient. Talking about looking at your area, your mission area, and understanding these are the concepts that I have to apply into this moment, into this mission, and this is how I can become more efficient in what I'm trying to accomplish. It seems like such a little thing, and it is such a little thing, but it enabled him to beat all the rest of them hands down, all because he was more efficient in the things that he was doing. I wonder how we could become more efficient and more effective in our searches if we would just take the moment to analyze every aspect of what it is that we are doing out there on the search, and be willing to look at it with a very, very critical eye on how can we make our dog more successful out there. I think it would be worth at least looking into. So with that, Mr. Paul, I shall turn it back over to you. With 2 minutes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I think you've hit some really excellent points in, talking about preparation and maximizing what we're actually doing. So I'm going to open it up for questions. You've got a couple of questions that are coming in from over the chat. Our friend Joy from Canada writes, please clarify handler bias on a search.
Very cool. I like it. That's my Twinkie. That's my twin. If you guys don't know, me and Joy are twinsies. You'd have to get to know us better, but yeah, you'd see the resemblance at it in us. Anytime that we're together, just watch. We're like two peas in a little pod. But handler bias, very simply, can be given to us a lot of different ways. It can be given to us during the briefings where the cop is sitting there saying, we just know for a fact that this is where the body is at. And literally, we don't even need you here, but just come on over and do that search over there. Well, you're already biased that your dog should be giving you something. Your body behavior over there, your attitude around that scene is going to be different, or could be different, if you're going to be biased by that. It could be that one of your previous handlers went in and searched an area, and they come back over and they have a tendency to give a little too much information to you about what their dog just did. Maybe it's even a negative area. I didn't find anything over there, but I guess they want you to go in and run a confirmation anyway. You're already biased if you allow yourself to be. So biasness comes up a lot that way.
Another question that's come in: tips for motivating teammates who are happy being amateurs.
So to me, what needs to happen at that point, because we all face that at times, I think we can all get ourselves back into a season or a period in our thinking that we don't have to push as hard. But I think that we have to constantly be willing to test ourselves outside of the confines of some certification test. I think that we need to all get into an atmosphere of reviews as a searcher, reviews as a search team for within your leadership. And it does not have to be critical. It does not have to be hurtful. It can be done in a very positive manner. Plus, I think that there also has to be testings where you are being tested at how well you can operate a GPS, and how well you can do map and compass, and how well your dog can find, adipocere, and how well your dog can run a 3-turn trail across 3 different types of vegetation or terrain.
Couple of comments that have come in. One from Derry in regards to bias. Can be the opposite too. We know he isn't here, but just run your dog over there.
Yep.
Firm but fair. Not really sure where that's going, but also there's a thank you from Annette that she needs more of this attitude and outlook in her life. From Kara, video training. So we were told not to video, that it can be used in court. Now we're told to video. So I used to video all my training. Now I stopped due to the usage in court.
Well, really simple.
I'm
Video.
so confused.
Yeah, I'm so confused. Well, welcome to the world, especially in our business, because we've got a lot of don't ever do it this way. You never ever do this, and then we'll all come out and change our mind. Um, Here's my really simple way of looking at it. Video your training, review it for that day, collect what you need to do as lessons learned, and then delete it. It's really simple. Don't hold on to it. Don't stockpile it. Get the lessons that you need and move on from it, because you can learn so much from those videos. But the problem does present itself if we are shooting videos and promoting those videos and pushing them out there online somewhere, or putting them on Facebook, or they're parts of team trainings, or they show up in our trainings, PowerPoints. Those things then do become problematic for us further down the road. But if you go and do it and then delete it, it's done. Really simple. Entries with SWAT teams, and we video every single aspect of that, because you have to be able to look at what's actually taking place. So if you same thing for them, right? I mean, this is law enforcement, it's cops. I mean, Cara, you know this. I guarantee you, Cara, there's been times that you have done some training that you have been videotaped on as an officer now. You go and do that so that you can kind of take a moment to look at it. Those things aren't being subpoenaed into court, because after you guys look at them, they are being deleted. So just delete them. I hope that helps.
Um, I'll interject you in this. If you've got a if you've got a team, and with teams, a lot of times we have SOPs and things like that in place. Just put in that SOP that our practice is going to be: we will video in training, we will review in training, and then that video is deleted. Therefore, it becomes your standard operating practice of, well, why didn't you save that? Well, I never save it, and here's why. I think you've got a couple other questions.
Yeah, Emily,
Okay, going back to
Emily's was, do you believe
yeah,
keeping it firm, but their approach to teammates or people you work with is the best approach? Emily, I would love to say I absolutely agree with that. I am one of those that spent my entire military career. Jennifer can attest to this too, having to constantly be engaged with conflict. I'm at the point now in my life I don't want that conflict, so sometimes it's not as firm as I would like for it to be. But one of the things that we are working towards, at least on our team, is to have a better understanding of what our values are, what our culture is within our team. So therefore, you begin to understand what is acceptable behavior and what is not acceptable behavior. That's also drawn out in our members handbook and all of our training that we give new members, so that is what is learned right from the very beginning, so people do begin to understand good behavior versus bad behavior.
okay. Over on Facebook, Chuck makes the point to say train final response doesn't always mean the body is there.
True that. But it becomes a very hard one, especially for new handlers, young handlers. Um, and again, a lot of biases are brought into play. You get a lot of expectations from the law enforcement agency. You get a lot of people, it becomes, let me put it this way, you get a train final response in an area and nothing is there. Instead of just owning the train final response, sometimes we cannot explain why the dog did what they did, but we have to own it. It is not the time to make rationalizations or excuses for the behavior. Does not mean the dog was wrong. Does not mean the dog was right. The dog gave the response. They searched it. They did not find anything. We have to move on.
Also, just a couple of comments that have come in. Core values are crucially important with teams from Hannah. Emily, that's good insight about the culture of the group and reinforcing values consistently so everyone knows what to expect. And a big thank you with that. Over on Facebook, Barb writes, sometimes handlers take things personally. I am sure I have. How do you keep from taking a comment personally, even though you know it is constructive criticism?
Mhm. There back in the day, and this I'm dating myself now. This is probably like 3 FunSAR books ago in NASAR SARTEC training. There's an acronym. Now, someone on here will know it, and maybe you can send it to me because I would love to have it again. But it was called PHACS, PHACKS. And in one of those acronyms of PHACS was that you needed to have thick skin. And that is a true analogy or a true analyzation of a searcher. We have got to have thick skin on what it is that we're doing. We've got to start recognizing that criticism can be good and it can be bad, and we have to recognize where it's coming from. I think that we have to be genuine in the way that we offer it. Part I see, and Jennifer, if you are on here, my little Jen, Army Jen, if you are on here, you can pitch in here. But in the Army, in the military, and law enforcement, and most of you have heard this, we do after action reports for everything, every little training, every op, every major mission. There is an after action report. And in that after action report, you start to set up a culture where criticism is offered and criticism is accepted because it is there to learn as a team. It's not done individually off to the side. It is done as a corporate thing to make everyone better. And when you build that in your culture, then it becomes more acceptable. And I think that, again, I'm saying a lot about culture, but that becomes very, very important for our team. I just got finished writing the PowerPoint and the SOP to reintroduce AAR back into our team. We all do little debriefings, but I do a lot of tactical operations, and those tactical operations have to have an AAR. And now I'm going to enforce the AAR on every single search mission that they do as well, just to build that culture. Because Barb, you're absolutely correct. We do that.
Okay, Emily also writes, would you consider teaching the dog a negative response to indicate it didn't find anything so it feels less pressure to false alert for its reward?
The lack of a TFR for odor is a negative response. So no, I would not go to the point of trying to confuse the dog for something else that it has already given me.
Also over on Facebook Live, Chuck's asking what's the difference between an AAR and just a debrief?
They can be very similar, and they often are more similar, but an AAR has a structure to it. There's a lot of places online that you can receive that structure. Even fire services use AARs, law enforcement uses them. So like I said, there's a structure to it. They can be informal and they can be formal. If you are doing a training op or you're doing like one of our normally small missions, search missions, then I would say that it's informal. It's done by the team lead and everyone else participates. If it's a major operation where there's a lot of different entities involved, I would suggest that it would be a formal one, that you get someone outside of the organization to come in and mediate it.
That's a good way to put it, Jen. The good, the bad, and the ugly.
True that.
Um,
And you have to be willing to go.
and as Joy wrote,
Professionals will go there. Amateurs will not want it to happen. They will take it personal. They will get hurt by it, or they'll use it as an opportunity to hurt others. And I'm just going to be real. Professionals will take it for what it was meant to be. Constructive. I want to improve, and our team wants to improve. But Joy is correct. It's absolutely not useful if you don't follow up on it. And that goes with anything in life. Got to be follow-up.
another question from Facebook. Elaine asked, how do you handle the added pressure of having a good dog? People will comment on it at seminars and searches. In my case, I feel I second guess my dog more.
I mean, it is added pressure, and I do get exactly what you're saying. It's added pressure within the team. I have seen that pressure really be added to teams as well, because a couple of dogs on the team are really performing at their best and are really performing well, and everyone else on the team starts to look down upon that effort. At the end of the day, your job is to build yourself and your canine, your partner, your tools as the most elite team possible. You're going to have to learn how to take that criticism. You're going to have to learn how to take some of that, but continue to push forward with what your goals are and what your why is. Your why is strong enough to build that team in the first place. That took a lot of time and a lot of effort. So you're going to have to continue to go there. One of the best ways to do that, though, is if you've built that way, then help others build theirs that way too. And I'm not saying that you're not, but make sure that they begin to see that you are trying to go out of your way to help them and assist them. And I don't know if that serves the answer to that question or not, but I do get her struggle there.
And that's very true, Hannah. Mentorship can go a long way. So we are coming up on an hour. I want to thank everybody for the questions that they submitted, their comments, and so forth. My hat is off to Brad for taking time to come and join us tonight, speak with us. Also, Brad, where can people find you teaching in the next coming months?
Yeah, good question. Well, I'm teaching with you in December, so I guess they can find that right on your site. For those of you that have participated in my webinars, I took some time off. That was very, very specific, just some things that had to get taken care of. But those webinars will start back up in November. And starting the first quarter of next year, we will be offering a couple of in-person seminars here in Pensacola, Florida. So if you want to escape your snow wherever you're at and come to Florida, you are welcome to come here. There will be a couple of trainings on building elite teams and team leader courses for you, as well as a number of search strategy, search management, and obviously canine classes. But to find those, I will have those out on my Facebook pages. We do have a website. It's called thesearcher.net, and you'll be able to go there. come to Pennsylvania and embrace the
And
sun.
yes, we're planning.
Oh, let me say one more thing. For
We,
those
we
of you,
okay.
that know Davis, and hopefully love Julie Davis, we will be starting up our fundraising for the grant that will be in Julie Davis's memory. And so we will be hosting a seminar here in Florida this year for that, but I also hope to offer one in Pennsylvania either this year or at least next year. Kim will hook you up for that one. But all of the proceeds go for that grant. And basically, what that grant is that if you have a team member that is facing a debilitating disease, very similar, does not have to be ALS, but it can just be something that is a major struggle for them, you'll put in an application for the grant. And then all funds that we've raised for that year will be distributed in that grant. So all in her name.
Yes, very much so. Um, but yes, you will see several opportunities for Brad and I teaching in the next year together. Um, but again, thank you, Brad, for coming on. I appreciate the work you do. I will make sure that everybody um, can follow your webinars. They will be cross posted on the HRD Specialized Canine Training Facebook page. Um, you can follow his webinars at thesearcher.net and register for them there. Next month's guest is Kimberly Kelly. She will be speaking with us on the either the last Thursday or the last Sunday of the month. I'll have to actually look at the calendar to see where things fall. Um, over on Facebook, yes, Brad and I would love to come to Alaska and teach together, especially if you can put us on some fishing.
Somebody asked us that. Let's do it. We're there.
Yeah. But again, yes, Joy, we see a pit stop in Canada in the future. Um, this will be on the Monthly Trainers Forum Facebook page. The live version will stay there for several weeks. And then this will wind up on our YouTube channel where all of our other Monthly Trainers Forum sessions have been played. So if you have any questions, please feel free to shoot me an email, and also check out the website for future classes. As Brad said, we are teaching together in December just outside of Memphis. So thank you all. Stay safe. Don't lick anything. It's not good for your health.